All right, so it's Christmas Eve and you need to make some cookies. I've got the perfect recipe. These are soft, moist, LoftHouse style cookies. If you don't know what those are, they are a very cake-like cookie. They are the perfect sugar cookie, in my opinion, that you're even gonna wanna leave a plate for the big guy himself. So grab some coffee and join me. Let's go over your ingredients. You're gonna need 2 3/4 cup cake flour. You don't wanna substitute this flour. Cake flour is the only thing that's gonna give these cookies that pillowy softness that you love in a LoftHouse cookie. So 2 3/4 cup cake flour, 1 cup sugar, 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of butter, room temperature. You want it pliable, you do not want it mushy. It should still kind of hold its shape a little bit. Same thing with your palm shortening. You're gonna need 1/3 cup palm shortening, room temperature, 1 large egg and 1 large egg white. Those are both in here. 2 teaspoons vanilla and 1/2 teaspoon of almond extract. If you're not a fan of almond extract, just stick with the vanilla, it's okay. But the almond extract does give that LoftHouse flavor. And of course, your cup of coffee. Next, we are going to take our large bowl of flour and we're going to add in our baking powder and our salt. And I use sea salt. I just find that it has the best flavor and it doesn't make any weird chemical reactions with the baking powder. I don't know if you've ever had a weird tasting cake. It's usually because your iodized salt mixes with your baking powder and it kind of creates a weird chemical reaction flavor that does not taste very good in your baked goods. So I always use sea salt because it's safe. All right, so I'm just gonna mix this up, make sure it's all combined, and then just set it aside. Next, we're going to take our mixing bowl and we're gonna beat together our butter, our shortening, and our sugars. I like to put the sugar in the bottom of my bowl first because I feel like when I put the butter down first, it gets stuck to the bottom of the bowl and I can't create that nice whipped butter and sugar that I really want. So I always add in my dry sugar first. In this case, we're using granulated sugar, and then I'm going to take my butter, and place that on top, and the same thing with my palm shortening. Now we're gonna take this over to the mixer and we're gonna whip it up. You want the butter and the sugar to whip into it like a fluffy cloud-like. It takes about 3 minutes, so if you're just mixing it until it looks blended, you actually haven't whipped the butter. Whipping it is almost like whipping eggs, where you kind of actually see it kind of get fluffy and lighter in color. So that's exactly what you want here with your butter and your shortening. You want it to be whipped and lighter in color. It's kind of hard to tell, but once you do it and you see the difference, it's huge. And it makes your cookies a lot fluffier. All right, so as you can see, it's only been a minute, and if I stick my finger in here and I touch this, it's still really grainy. And it just feels like just the butter and the sugar have combined. That's not what you want. So go ahead and scrape down your sides, and you wanna fluff this, okay? Make it really fluffy. You don't wanna do it too long though, because if you make the butter too hot, it'll melt, also making your cookies flat. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's lighter in color and it's just a little fluffier. I did scrape my bowl twice in that 3 minutes, and it just made a really nice whipped butter. And once you kind of get the hang of this, you'll be able to tell instantly whether butter is whipped or not. But if you don't, no big deal. Kids aren't gonna notice. So now that I've whipped my butter, I'm gonna just set this aside for a little bit. And I'm gonna take my eggs and my egg yolk and I'm gonna add my extracts into my egg whites here, into my eggs. And I'm just gonna grab a fork and whisk it really good. So once it's kind of whipped all together, I'm gonna go ahead and add it into my butter sugar. So as you can see, my butter, my sugar, and my eggs are all in there mixed together. We're gonna take it back to the mixer and mix it again. So I whisked it for about a minute, and now I'm just going in and scraping down my sides just to make sure there's not any clumps anywhere. So I'm going to turn my mixer on to just a low. I don't like anything higher than a low because I tend to make a mess with the flour all over the place. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of my flour at a time and just put it in, let it pull it around. Add in a little bit more. All right, once you see it kind of coming together, just give it about 30 more seconds and then call it good. So now that your dough has come together, I'm just gonna take my bowl and I'm gonna scrape it all to the center. And then we have to cover this with plastic and put it in the refrigerator for at least 3 hours. I have found that it does a little bit better overnight. So if you're not in a hurry to make these cookies tonight, then go ahead and do it the day before and leave the cookies overnight. But if you're pressed for time, then just make sure you leave enough time to put this dough into the refrigerator. And enjoy your coffee while you wait. All right, so our cookies are done chilling in the refrigerator. When you take them out, you're going to need to leave them on the counter for about 30 minutes just to soften a little bit, that you can push your finger in, but it still holds its shape. You don't want it really gooey or your cookies are gonna spread all over. And then I like to use these scoops. I can link these down below. This one is the medium-sized scoop. It's about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a little bit more. And I just find that these are the perfect size for making these LoftHouse cookies. It's gonna make between 25 and 30 cookies, and you're just gonna take the scoop, you're gonna roll it around in your hands to make that nice little ball, and then you're gonna place it on your cookie sheet and just gently push it down a tiny bit. So let me move my coffee. You should be able to see that right there. So I'll show you a couple more times. I'm making the scoop even, plopping it into my hand, rolling it with my clean hands, placing it on my cookie sheet, and just pressing it down with 2 fingers slightly. And I usually do like a 3-2 pattern, that way the cookies have room to spread. All right, so that was about half my batter. I've got a pretty full tray. I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the oven for about 10 minutes. You'll need to cook these for anywhere from 9 to 12 minutes, just depending on your oven and your home. So keep an eye on them, but you'll see that they'll start to golden on the bottom of the cookie, not necessarily on the top. Once you see that, they're done. So my first batch is done, and I just wanted to show you guys the brown, if you can see it on the bottom. I don't wanna really touch them, but you can start to see how they're starting to brown and coming up. That's what you want to see before you pull them out. These took a little bit longer today, about 13-14 minutes, and that could just be because my house is a little colder today or things like that. But that's what you want to see, is that golden brown right there starting to crest up on the edges. All right, while our cookies are cooling, we're gonna make our frosting. And this is just gonna be a basic buttercream frosting. So I've sifted my powdered sugar and I'm gonna add it to the bottom of my mixer. And then I'm gonna take my butter and add it on top, my salt, and my vanilla. And I'm sorry, I didn't go over ingredients. So that was 3 cups powdered sugar, 2/3 cup butter softened to room temperature, 1 teaspoon vanilla, and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. I am going to get about 3 to 4 tablespoons of heavy cream, and I'm gonna just add it in as needed to this recipe. It's just gonna add a little bit more moisture and help that frosting come together. All right, so we're hooked up to the mixer here. We're just gonna start blending this together until it starts coming together and making that frosting. So I'm gonna slowly start adding in a little bit of the heavy cream. I'm only gonna add in about 1 tablespoon right now, and then I'm gonna let it finish coming together and see what it looks like. So as you can see, it's coming together, but it's still kind of like one big ball, and we want it more creamy. So I'm gonna add in another tablespoon of my heavy cream, and I'm going to mix it again and see if it starts coming together. The reason we're doing this slowly is because if you add too much heavy cream all at one time, it can be over runny, and then you have to add more powdered sugar. All our frosting is all done. It's nice and fluffy. I ended up using about 3 tablespoons of that heavy cream. It's really just going to be dependent on how your frosting is coming out and how runny or how thick that you want it. If you didn't use all of it, just go ahead and pour it back into the container. It'll be fine. If you wanted to add food coloring, you could add it there at the very end before your last whip, or go ahead and just add it by hand here and mix it. I'm not a big fan of food coloring unless I can find something natural. So I'm just going to leave mine white, and we'll let the sprinkles do all the color talk. So if you can see that there, that's kind of what I do. It's a generous size amount of frosting so that it will hold all of those sprinkles. If you're doing this part by yourself, I'm going to take the sprinkles and I just take a small amount and I set them down in the center. And then I very gently take my finger and kind of spread and push down. The reason I want to push down is because I don't want the sprinkles to come back off of my cookie. If you guys have seen the LoftHouse style cookies at the grocery store, they are full of sprinkles. And so you kind of want to just recreate that. Your kids, their kids are just going to do it however they want, and that's totally fine. But if you're making them for a special event or things like that, you're going to want to do it like this. And this is not, I did not buy this pre-mixed together this way. I created this way. I just bought the sprinkles that I needed with all the different components and styles and colors, and then I added it together to make my own Christmas blend. You don't need to spend money on the really expensive blends that are already put together. You can make it yourself, and it's really simple. I'm gonna find some Christmas cuties to finish helping me make these cookies for Santa. All right, we have Ben and Josh here. We're gonna get them some sprinkles. You ready, Joshy? Mm-hmm. Don't drop them. All right, Ben, you ready? Pick one and put the sprinkles on it. You gotta push them down though. Oh, okay, that's a good idea. All right. Mm. All right, you're done now. That's it. All right, head on out, buddy. Put the rest in there. Come on. Sprinkles are good, huh? You need one to go. Finish the decorating that cookie and I'll give you some to go.
Only the what I got did. Can I have some?
You need some to go too?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. No, don't take them off of there. Okay.
Like this, all right, here we go. Nice little pattern. You flip the cookie upside down, tap it around. It's a little messy, but here's the thing. It looks better than those ones. You just got to get a little more sprinkles.
Aren't you a little too old for Santa?
No.
Baby, do you want to decorate this cookie that Mommy saved for you? You want to push in the sprinkles? Can you push them down? Oh, here, we'll get some more. Can you push them with your finger? Here, go like this. Can you do that? Good job. Can you do some more? Push them in there. Push, push, push. Oh, they just... Say Merry Christmas.